Hello, everyone. How is everyone on today? Now, I'm going to be talking to you again out of Emily Barnes' book. You know, Emily Barnes, we've talked about Emily Barnes for quite some time, and we're in chapter 18 of Emily Barnes, resting in the promise of God's faithfulness. And, it's a cup of hope. And so, are you a hope transplant? Are you? Because here's something important that Emily wants to share with us that she discovered about hope in the past few years, or she rediscovered. Because, she might have knew it before, but now it's much more real. And for us, it should be much more real to us. And so, that we've talked about this, that hope comes from God. And that's the bottom line truth. Hope does come from God. But the way that it often comes through us, we can, that he shares the gift with us, and it can also come through other people, because other people can share their story and inspire you, because they could have been at a place in their life that they were hopeless. And then someone shared their story of hope to them, and then they were able to receive that hope that God had already given us. And sometimes we forget the hope that God has already given us. He's already given us hope, but sometimes we'll forget about hope. And when we keep going through trials and tribulations and tragedies and losses, we can forget about the hope, because we can start to feel hopeless. And that's what's hard sometimes, is dealing with hopelessness. But God is full of hope, and he offers us hope. And when we share hope, it grows stronger as we share it. And that's the way hope works. Because if we never share hope, how can we help others to have hope that are going through hopelessness, or that they are hopeless instead of being hopeful? And so sharing it is like other people can catch it, and that's a good disease to catch. Being hopeful, having hope is a good disease to catch. See, we don't want to catch the monkeypox and the COVID and the chicken pox, especially in our adult ages, and all this other stuff that's out here. We don't want to catch that. But hope is something that is a good disease to catch. And I'm going to say it like that. And it has the strange ability, because it's a strange ability to grow, and to grow when it's divided with others, just like dividing the word and sharing the word. It has a strange ability to grow on people. And if you start to read the word and you start to believe in the word, it's going to have a strange ability, because it's going to start to grow on you and it be embedded in your heart. And so it can be transferred deliberately from one person to another. Transferred, deliberately from one person to another. Just like a blood transfusion, or kidneys, your eyeballs, bone marrow, it can be transplanted. Hope can be transferred and transplanted in others if we learn to share it. And so, let's see. So if you're thinking of a hope transplant, and you're thinking of it as a hope transplant, it could be weird. It could be, well, where's she getting this hope transplant from and all of that? Or where did Emily get it from? Because Emily is calling this the name of the chapter, a hope transplant, chapter 18, right? But if you read a story about somebody else, and they were inspired by somebody else's hope, because they were going through some things, and you feel that hope was transplanted in you, then you can become a hope transplant yourself. And that's the beauty of it, because it transfers from one person to another, right? Having hope, and it transfers to one person or another. And so and we can share our story, and share our story with how we have hope and how we believe in hope through Jesus Christ, And because when you're going through so much things, financial, and you're going through a medical crisis and you're short on money, or all of your savings is starting to be drained by, using it up for your medical appointments or parking and different things like that, it can become trying and you can start to lose hope. But if you have people around you that's praying for you, that's uplifting you and sharing stories of their testimony and stories that you can get through it, and coaching you to get through it, and being there for you just to support you and love on you, to keep you from becoming hopeless. We want to be hopeful. And so we don't know everybody's story, and I don't know everybody's story, but I know I have a story of my own to tell. I have stories to tell and experiences of what I've been through, and some of them I've shared and some I haven't, but I tell you that through it all, I still have hope. And we got to have hope and be optimistic, and we got to pray and petition God for our healing, right? And petition God for other things, and being confident that your hope is working through yourself and through other people. Because there's times that like this where people are in need of finances, and people are in need of a lot of different things, and they're in need of making sure that they have money to pay this high rent and the mortgages, that if you don't have a set rate, or you're trying to buy a home because they can help you with a home. Like in California, they're offering to help people with homes with the down payment. And so you just have to make sure you have money to pay that mortgage every month. And so, we can transfer the hope, and that hope can become transfusions to other people, and it can give you a fresh burst of hope and optimism, and you become hope transplants. And it becomes deeper through sacrificial donations of love and edification that can give the strength to make some hope of its own. That's good news. That's good news, people. And the interesting thing about the transfer of hope, it doesn't just flow in one direction. The transfer of hope flows in so many other directions. And for the people who give of themselves to transfer hope to another person, almost always receives a fresh supply of hope themselves. They receive a fresh supply of hope themselves. And we're almost done. And so I want to be able to donate some hope to somebody out there that's in need of some hope. Somebody that's in need of some hope. I want to be able to transfer that hope to you, because if you are struggling and you feel hopeless, God is here to help you through it. God is here. He cares about you. He wants to do the best for you, and he wants the best for you, and he cares about you. And so if you are struggling, God is alive, and he wants to help you through your situation. And I want you to know that you're not alone in going through your finances. You're not alone in going through the struggles, or maybe finding a job, or maybe finding a place to live, or maybe providing for your children. God is available. And there are some resources out there that can help you in your own city and town. And so, but the important thing is knowing that God loves you, and he hasn't forgotten about you. He hasn't forsaken you, and he cares about what you are going through. And it's in the very process of sharing that hope, of loving on each other, encouraging each other, building up each other, helping each other in practical ways, that produces more and more hope in all of us. And it comes from God. And the best place, to start is to start with God. Start with God in prayer. Start with his word. And if you have a Bible, read his word. If you don't, pull it up. If you have a cell phone, you can pull up scriptures. You can pull up the Bible on your cell phone. But it starts with getting in God's word. It comes from God, and believing in God, and trusting the process, a cup of hope, resting in the promises of God's faithfulness. See, because that hope, it grows and grows as we transfuse it and transplant it and pass it from heart to heart. Having hope and never giving up. Because see, hope grows as we pass along love and help to one another. That's where hope grows. And we can't give up hope. No matter what's going on in our judicial system with these people, don't want to do what's right, want to bend the laws and find loopholes. Don't you understand? That's why even with them, they have a 9% the prosecution would, but guess what? What's the percentage of men being exonerated? We can't give up hope. That goes for people that's in the judicial system that have been wrongly convicted. We can't give up hope. We cannot give up hope. And then there's a hopeful hint. A hopeful hint. A hopeful hint. And this hopeful hint. At hope, if it says, have you ever tried to commit a random act of kindness? Doing something nice and unexpected for a stranger, such as scraping her windshield or paying her toll, like a toll, going through a toll bridge. You'd be surprised at the feelings of hope such an act can generate. You'll end up feeling that the world isn't so bad after all. And then there's words of hope and hope from the word. Margaret Becker, I'm going to share what she says. A cup that is already full cannot have more added to it. In order to receive the further good to which we are entitled, we must give of that which we have. So if your cup is already full, you won't be able to receive any more in that cup if it's already full. What's going to happen? It's going to overflow and waste, right? And unless somebody has their hands cupped or another cup while it's overflowing into their cup of hope, right? Because if you don't and it's just full and you keep pouring, you're just wasting it. But unless you're able to have somebody else is able to catch what's overflowing from your cup, then you're sharing that hope and you're transplanting that hope and giving a transfusion of hope to somebody else. So if your cup is already full, why don't you share that hope with someone else? Or why don't you step aside and share that hope while somebody else can step up that's next in line to get that hope that you already have received so that you can share with somebody else, right? And then 1 Peter chapter 4, 8 through 10 says, above all, love each other deeply, because love covers a multitude of sins. Offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. Each one should use whatever gift he has received to serve others, faithfully administering God's grace in its various forms. In its various forms. A cup of hope. Sharing that cup of hope with someone else. And then Matthew 25, 37 through 40 says, then the righteous would answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, I tell you the truth. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me. And then Marisa Teresa of Calcutta says, I never look at the masses as my responsibility. I look at the individual. I can only love one person at a time. I can feed only one person at a time. Just one. One. You get closer to Christ by coming closer to each other. Now, she's saying I can only love one person at a time. So if you're there, excuse me, if you're there helping, you're helping that one person at a time, giving them your undivided attention. And then if you're feeding someone, there's someone calling me and I'm not able to answer it. So I'm hoping that they will leave a message because it's a number that I have to speak to someone on. So God forgive me for this. So I'm not going to answer it at this time. I want to finish the message. So feeding one person at a time. One person at a time. Because when you're feeding someone, you have to serve them first, right? Because they're in front of you. So you're serving them and it's one person at a time. So I understand and I get it, what she's saying. And so I want you to share your hope with someone else, because there's a lot of people that are full of hope. So if you're full of hope, please share your hope with someone else. Don't let your cup overflow and waste your hope without stepping aside to share it, or inviting someone. If your cup is overflowing with hope, allow someone to place their cup up here, and you share your hope in your cup into their cup. That's it. Share your cup of hope with someone else that is in need of hope. God bless you all on today. Bye-bye.